All right, so get this. You folks have sent us a ton of research on security,
Oh, wow.
and it's all published today,
Really?
January 15th, 2025.
Keeping us on the cutting edge.
Yeah, talk about cutting edge. And honestly, looking at it all, it seems like the future is, well, it's both really exciting and a little bit terrifying,
Yeah.
particularly when it comes to security.
Well, it's a constantly shifting landscape, that's for sure.
Definitely.
And what's interesting to me is how these seemingly separate fields, AI,
Yeah.
quantum computing, cryptocurrency, they're all kind of converging and reshaping our whole idea of security.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got these papers here with titles like Gandalf the Red, Adaptive Security for LLMs, and Masking Countermeasures Against Side-Channel Attacks on Quantum Computers.
Sounds like a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? It sounds like a sci-fi movie plot,
It does.
but it's like, it's real.
Well, the reality is that the future of security is being written right now. And all these research papers, they give us a little peek into what that might look like.
Okay, so let's unpack some of this, shall we?
Yeah.
One of the themes that really jumped out at us was AI and its role in security.
Yeah.
It seems like AI is just everywhere these days.
It is.
And it's pretty clear it's not just, a tool for good guys.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
AI is becoming a key player in both attack and defense strategies.
Yeah.
It's a real double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Can you maybe give us a concrete example of how AI is being used, like specifically to actually improve security?
Absolutely. Let's take a look at this paper.
Okay.
A comparative analysis of DNN-based white box explainable AI methods in network security. This research really digs into how AI can be used to build much more robust intrusion detection systems.
Okay.
So basically, we're training AI to be able to recognize those patterns of malicious activity and flag potential threats in real time.
So it's like having an AI security guard.
Yeah.
Constantly on the lookout for anything fishy.
Exactly. And because AI can learn and adapt, these systems are becoming so much more sophisticated and effective all the time.
Okay, that's reassuring, but you know what they say.
What's that?
Every hero needs a villain, right? And it sounds like AI is playing that role too.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Yeah.
The same abilities that make AI such a great tool for defense also make it really tempting for the attackers.
Yeah.
This paper, Towards an End-to-End E2E Adversarial Learning and Application in the Physical World, really drives that point home.
This is the one where they created those, what are they called? Adversarial patches, the ones that could actually trick object detectors.
Right.
I read about that one, and honestly, it kind of freaked me out.
I can see why. This research demonstrates that AI can be used to actually create real-world attacks, targeting systems like self-driving cars.
Yeah.
Imagine a sticker, just a simple sticker, that when you place it on a stop sign, it could cause a car to just completely miss it.
Oh, yikes. Okay, maybe I don't want a self-driving car just yet.
Yeah, maybe not quite yet.
But it's not just cars, is it? This kind of attack, it could target any system that depends on object detection.
That's exactly right. It really underlines how important it is to be able to anticipate these new and emerging threats and develop strong security measures that can actually counter them.
Okay.
And it's not just physical systems that are at risk. The Gandalf the Red paper, that one really caught my eye because it focuses on a whole new kind of attack.
Oh, yeah.
They call them prompt attacks.
Prompt attacks.
Yeah, and they target large language models, or LLMs.
Okay, I have to admit, I have no idea what a prompt attack is.
Okay, so think about AI assistants, things like ChatGPT.
Right, yeah.
These systems are trained on massive data sets of text and code, and they can generate really, really human-like responses to your prompts, right?
Yeah.
Well, prompt attack is basically like crafting a malicious request that's disguised as something harmless,
It's like a simple question or instruction, and it tricks the LLM into executing harmful code.
Oh, wow.
Or revealing sensitive information.
So you're saying I could ask, my AI assistant to write me a poem and accidentally trigger a security breach?
Well, it's not quite that straightforward, but you've got the general idea.
Okay.
These attacks, they exploit the fundamental nature of LLMs, their ability to process language and then create responses based on all that training data.
Yeah.
It's a whole new category of vulnerability that we really need to be aware of.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are researchers working on, ways to actually defend against these prompt attacks?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The Gandalf the Red paper, they propose a framework for what they call adaptive security measures. They can protect LLMs from these kinds of attacks. It's about building in safeguards, things that can actually detect and neutralize those malicious prompts before they can do any damage.
That's definitely a relief.
Yeah.
This whole idea of AI as both a protector and a potential threat
Yeah.
is pretty mind-boggling.
It is. I mean, what does it even mean for the average person who's just trying to, navigate the digital world safely?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think what it really highlights is the need for a lot more awareness and education about the potential risks and benefits of AI.
Yeah.
We all need to be much more discerning about the information we take in, the technologies we use, and the requests we make of our AI assistants.
So it's like we need to develop like a healthy dose of skepticism when it comes to AI.
Exact.
It's a powerful tool.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not infallible.
Right. And we can't just blindly trust that it's always going to be used for good.
Right. We need to be informed.
Yes.
And we need to be engaged
Absolutely.
in this, rapidly changing AI world.
That's right.
Okay, so we've talked about AI reshaping kind of the present of security.
Mm-hmm.
How about something even more futuristic?
Okay, like what?
I'm looking at this paper on quantum computers and security.
Okay.
And honestly, it sounds like something straight out of Star Trek.
Well, quantum computers, they're not just a sci-fi concept anymore,
Right.
They are becoming a reality, and they come with a whole new set of security issues.
The paper, Masking Countermeasures Against Side Channel Attacks on Quantum Computers.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it stood out to me. Can you maybe break down what side channel attacks are and why they're such a big deal for quantum computers?
So quantum computers are unbelievably sensitive to their environment.
Really?
And I mean that literally.
Okay.
They're vulnerable to attacks that exploit physical characteristics of the computer itself, like tiny fluctuations in the electrical current or even electromagnetic radiation.
So it's like someone could basically eavesdrop on a quantum computer by measuring its physical emissions.
You could say that, yeah.
Wow.
These side channel attacks, they can leak sensitive information about the computations that are being performed, and that could compromise the security of the entire system.
That's wild. So how do you even begin to protect something that's that sensitive?
Well, this particular paper proposes a technique called masking
Okay.
as a countermeasure.
Okay.
It's basically about scrambling the quantum computer's operations
Okay.
to make it way harder for attackers to extract any useful information from those physical signals.
So it's like adding a layer of encryption.
Yeah.
The quantum computer's inner workings.
You could think of it that way, yeah.
Oh.
The goal is to make it as difficult as possible
Yeah.
for attackers to exploit those physical vulnerabilities.
This all sounds incredibly complex.
It is.
It's like security is becoming this never-ending game of cat and mouse,
Yeah, it is.
with researchers constantly trying to stay one step ahead of the attackers.
It's a great analogy, and the stakes are getting higher
Right.
as these technologies become more powerful and more interconnected.
Okay, before we move on, I got to ask about this.
Yeah.
Towards a hybrid quantum differential privacy paper.
Oh, yeah.
The title alone makes my head spin.
Yeah, that one's a bit of a mouthful.
So this research, it's all about protecting data privacy
Right.
in the age of quantum computing.
Exactly.
It proposes a method for adding noise to the data
Yeah.
that's being processed by a quantum computer in a way that keeps individual privacy safe, but doesn't sacrifice the accuracy of the overall computation.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like a digital shield
Yeah.
that protects sensitive information.
Yeah, even when it's being, crunched by a quantum computer.
It's pretty amazing, honestly.
It is.
It's a really fascinating approach to safeguarding privacy in a world where, quantum computers could crack a lot of the encryption methods that we rely on today.
Exactly.
This is all incredibly fascinating, but I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It seems like the future of security is a wild ride,
It definitely is.
and we've only just scratched the surface, haven't we?
We've only just begun.
Well, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back to delve even deeper into the latest security research.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into the latest in security research.
I don't know about you, but my head is still spinning from all that talk about AI and quantum computers.
It's a lot.
It feels like the future is coming at us faster than ever before.
It really is. And, with every technological leap we take, it seems like we're faced with a whole new set of security challenges.
Right, exactly.
That we need to figure out how to deal with.
Speaking of challenges, let's maybe shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about something a little closer to home.
Yeah.
Something that, we all use every single day. Mobile apps
Ah, yes, the apps that we rely on for everything these days.
Right. I mean, from banking to shopping to social media,
Yep.
they've become so integral to our lives.
Uh-huh.
But, they also represent a pretty significant security risk if they're not, properly designed and protected.
Oh, absolutely.
This paper, How Far Are App Secrets from Being Stolen? A case study on Android.
Yeah, I saw that one.
It really caught my eye, and honestly, it paints a pretty concerning picture of how vulnerable our mobile apps can actually be.
Yeah, it's definitely a wake-up call.
Right.
This research highlights a really widespread issue,
Yeah.
the leakage of sensitive information, what they call app secrets.
App secrets.
Yeah.
Okay, so what kind of information are we talking about here?
We're talking about things like API keys, database credentials, even encryption keys that are supposed to be protecting our user data.
Yeah.
These secrets, they're often hard-coded right into the app's code.
Wait, hard-coded?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You mean developers are just leaving these sensitive keys just lying around in plain sight within the app's code?
Sadly, it happens way more often than you'd think.
Oh, wow.
It could be due to, lack of security awareness, time constraints, or even just plain negligence.
Yeah.
But the results can be really, really serious.
So how easy are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Could anyone with, even just basic tech skills steal these secrets?
In a lot of cases, yeah.
Really?
The researchers in this paper, they used pretty simple techniques to scan thousands of Android apps.
Yeah.
And they were able to extract over 3,700 distinct exploitable app secrets.
That's a lot of secrets.
That's a lot, yeah.
And I'm guessing that those secrets could be used for some pretty nasty stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If those app secrets are compromised, attackers could access user accounts, steal sensitive data.
Yeah.
They could even take control of whole systems.
Okay, I'm officially feeling a little paranoid about my phone now.
Oh, get it.
What can we, as users, actually do to protect ourselves?
Well, I think awareness is the first and most important step.
Okay.
Be really careful about the apps you download. Stick to, reputable developers, read reviews, and be wary of any app that's asking for, a ton of permissions.
Okay, that's good advice.
Yeah.
But it seems like the responsibility shouldn't fall entirely on us users.
Right.
App developers, they really need to step up their game when it comes to security, don't they?
Absolutely. They need to make security a priority right from the get-go, from the very start of the development process. And they have to follow those best practices for handling sensitive information.
It's like a shared responsibility.
It is.
Users need to be informed and cautious, and developers really need to bake security into the very core of their app.
Exactly. It's a partnership.
Yeah.
And we all have to do our part to make that whole mobile app ecosystem more secure.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to something maybe a little less anxiety-inducing, shall we?
All right, what have you got?
This paper on FPGAs, PUFBind, PUF-enabled lightweight program binary authentication for FPGA-based embedded systems.
Okay.
That one really caught my eye, but I have to admit, I'm not even entirely sure what an FPGA is.
So an FPGA, or Field Programmable Gate Array, is essentially a chip that you can reprogram to perform a wide range of tasks.
Okay.
You find them in everything from, consumer electronics to industrial automation to aerospace systems.
Okay, so they're like super versatile chips.
Super versatile, yeah.
But what's the security issue with FPGAs then?
The main challenge is that the software running on an FPGA can be tampered with or even completely replaced with malicious code.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this can have some pretty serious consequences, especially in systems that are, really critical.
Right, yeah.
So how do we protect FPGAs from this kind of tampering? This paper seems to offer a pretty clever solution.
It does, yeah. The researchers have developed this technique that they're calling PUFBind. And it leverages something called a Physical Unclonable Function, or PUF.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, think of a PUF like a unique digital fingerprint that's embedded in the actual physical structure of the FPGA itself.
So it's like a built-in security key that can't be copied or duplicated.
Exactly.
Clever.
And PUFBind uses this unique fingerprint to bind the software to the FPGA, making sure that only authorized software can actually run on that specific device.
That's really smart.
It's like having a tamper-proof seal
on
your software.
It is.
That's pretty impressive. And I'm guessing this PUF technology, it probably has applications beyond just FPGAs, right?
You're absolutely right. PUFs are starting to get a lot of attention as a hardware-based security measure that can protect a whole range of devices and systems.
Yeah.
They provide a very robust way to ensure the authenticity and the integrity of both the hardware and the software.
It seems like we're seeing a real shift towards more hardware-level security measures.
Yeah.
Is that a trend that you're noticing as well?
Absolutely. As software attacks are getting more and more complex, we're starting to realize that just relying on software-based security isn't enough anymore.
Right.
We need to build security into the very foundation of our systems at the hardware level.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about AI, quantum computing, mobile app security, now FPGAs and PUFs.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
Can we maybe just take a step back for a second and kind of reflect on the bigger picture?
Yeah, sure.
What are the key takeaways from all this research?
Well, I think one of the most striking things is that the security landscape is becoming so much more complex and interconnected.
Right.
We're not just dealing with these isolated threats anymore. We're facing this whole web of interconnected vulnerabilities that span across so many different technologies and domains.
It's not just about protecting individual devices or systems.
No, it's not.
It's about understanding how all these technologies kind of interact and how those interactions, create these new opportunities for attacks.
Exactly.
Another thing that really stands out to me is the sheer pace of innovation.
It's unbelievable.
These new technologies, they're emerging at such an incredible rate.
I know.
And with each new technology come new security challenges.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, so this means we need to be much more agile and adaptable.
I do.
In our approach to security, right?
Absolutely.
We can't just keep relying on yesterday's solutions to solve tomorrow's problems.
Exactly. It's like we're in this constant arms race.
Right. It's like a constant arms race with the attackers.
Yeah, always trying to stay one step ahead.
Always trying to stay ahead.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us to another really crucial point. The importance of collaboration and knowledge sharing, right?
Huge.
We can't possibly tackle these complex security issues in isolation.
We can't. No.
We have to work together, share information, and learn from each other's experiences.
Absolutely.
It's like a global community effort to build a more secure digital world.
It really is.
And the research that we've been discussing today, it's a testament to the power of that collaboration.
Yeah.
Scientists, engineers, security experts from all over the world are working together to understand these emerging threats and to address them.
It's amazing.
And it's that collaboration that will ultimately make the digital world a safer place for all of us.
That's right.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
But there's still so much more to explore. So let's take another quick break.
All right.
And we'll be back to wrap up our exploration of the cutting edge of security. Welcome back for the final part of our security deep dive. I feel like we've gone through a whole sci-fi movie's worth of tech in just these past 2 parts.
And believe it or not, there's still more to uncover. It's amazing how much work is going into protecting the digital world, especially when you look at the very core of security itself.
Exactly. Which leads us to this paper, Entropy Mixing Networks, Enhancing Pseudo-Random Number Generators with Lightweight Dynamic Entropy Injection.
Okay, I've got to admit something here.
Go on.
I remembered learning about random number generators back in college.
But I always found them boring.
I can understand that. They might not sound like the most exciting thing.
Right.
But honestly, random number generators, they're crucial for security.
Really?
Oh, yeah, they're the bedrock of cryptography.
Right.
Which is essentially the art of securing information and communications.
So remind me, why is randomness so important for security? It's been a while since those computer science classes.
Okay, well, imagine trying to create an unbreakable code, right?
Okay.
If the encryption key you're using follows some predictable pattern, it's just a matter of time before someone figures it out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
True randomness, that's what makes it almost impossible for attackers to crack the code.
So the more random and unpredictable the encryption key, the stronger the security.
You got it.
Okay.
Now, a lot of traditional random number generators, they use algorithms.
Yeah.
And while those algorithms are complex, they can still show patterns over time.
Really?
Yeah, so there's research on entropy mixing networks.
Yeah.
It proposes a new way to inject even more randomness into those generators, making them far more unpredictable.
So it's like adding another layer of chaos to the mix,
Yeah.
making it even tougher for attackers to break through.
Exactly. These entropy mixing networks, they basically introduce these bursts of randomness
Oh, wow.
at totally unpredictable times, which really disrupts any patterns that might be emerging from the underlying algorithm.
Okay, so this is starting to make more sense now.
Good.
But how does this actually affect, like, me, the average person, just trying to stay safe online? Why should I even care about these entropy mixing networks?
Because this research actually has an impact on so many things you do online every day.
Really?
Think about it. Online banking, e-commerce transactions, those secure messaging apps you use,
Yeah.
all of those things rely on strong cryptography, which in turn depends on really solid random number generation.
So even though it's all kind of happening behind the scenes,
Yeah,
this research is actually making all those everyday things I do online more secure.
exactly. It's making the whole foundation of digital trust so much stronger.
Okay, so we've talked about securing the digital world, but what about something that kind of bridges the gap between the physical and the digital? Like, what about GPS spoofing?
Ah, GPS spoofing, right. It's a really interesting area
It is.
where the line between the real world and the digital world gets blurry.
Yeah.
And the consequences can be pretty serious.
I mean, I've read about cases where ships were tricked into thinking they were somewhere else entirely.
Yeah.
Or drones being hijacked mid-flight.
It happens.
It sounds like something out of a spy movie.
It does, doesn't it? But the reality is that GPS spoofing is a real and growing threat.
It is.
And it's not just limited to those high-profile targets. Either
Oh, yeah.
anyone who relies on GPS for anything, whether it's navigation or location-based services, could potentially be vulnerable.
This paper, Learning-Based Detection of GPS Spoofing Attack for Quadrotors.
Yeah, interesting approach.
Yeah, it caught my attention because it seems like researchers are turning to machine learning to actually combat these GPS spoofing attacks.
They are. This research is focusing specifically on protecting quadrotors.
Oh, okay.
Those unmanned aerial vehicles with the 4 rotors
Right, yeah.
from being spoofed.
Yeah.
They've come up with this system they call quadformer.
Quadformer.
Yeah, it uses a type of machine learning called a transformer network
Okay.
to analyze all the data coming in from the different sensors on the quadrotor, looking for anything unusual that might signal a spoofing attack is happening.
So they're basically training an AI to be able to spot those fake GPS signals.
That's it.
That's so cool.
Quadroper can pick up on these tiny inconsistencies in the data, inconsistencies that would be really hard for a human to spot,
Yeah, I can imagine.
allowing it to identify those spoofing attempts quickly and accurately.
It's like having like a digital bodyguard
Yeah,
for your drone, always watching out for trouble.
that's a great way to put it. And the best part is this technology isn't just for quadrotors.
Oh.
The principles behind Quadformer, they could be used to protect all sorts of GPS-dependent systems, from cars to ships to even critical infrastructure.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like machine learning is becoming this all-purpose tool for security, right?
It really is.
Helping us protect everything from our personal data to our physical safety.
You're absolutely right. Machine learning is transforming security.
Yeah.
It's allowing us to analyze huge amounts of data, identify patterns, and make predictions in ways that we simply couldn't do before.
But with all this power, doesn't that also mean that there's potential for it to be used, for bad stuff?
It's a great point, and it's something that everyone working in this field is very aware of.
Yeah.
Just like we're using machine learning to make things more secure, attackers could use it to develop even more sophisticated attacks.
Right.
It's like this constant back and forth.
Yeah, constant battle between, like, the good guys and the bad guys.
Exactly. But I'm optimistic. I think we can stay ahead by continuing to innovate, by collaborating, and by making security a top priority at every single level.
Well, this deep dive has been quite a journey.
It has.
We've explored the cutting edge of security research, from quantum computing to artificial intelligence.
That's a lot.
And it's clear that the future of security, well, it's going to be a wild ride.
It will be, but it's also a really exciting time to be working in this field.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Every new challenge brings new opportunities to innovate and to create a more secure future for everyone.
And a huge thank you to you for guiding us through this complex and fascinating landscape.
It's been my pleasure.
You've really helped us make sense of it all.
Well, remember, knowledge is power. The more we know about these new technologies and the threats they pose, the better equipped we all are to protect ourselves and our digital lives.
Well said. That's a wrap for our deep dive into security research. We hope you found it insightful and engaging. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.